All right.
It's fine. We're live.
All right.
We're
Good
here.
morning. We are in Michigan. We're in it.
We're in Michigan. All up in Detroit right now.
All right. I'm Rocky.
And I'm Megan. And we are Fire the Cannon.
Longhorn Nation.
Yep.
All right.
We're back.
Yeah, we are back.
We're back. All right. We have a special guest today joining us to talk preview Texas, Michigan, and it is KEVIN Dunn. He will be with us in just a moment, working on the links. So we're in the Pimp House.
The Pimp House.
Yes,
This place is amazing.
Megan and I, so we were looking for a place that's kind of like Detroit, but not too much in the city, but around, so we could have a good time and space for some friends to hang out.
Yeah.
And we found the Pimp House. I posted a video. I'll share the video with you. This is just the front, front sitting room and dining room.
Yeah.
But the house goes on and on and on, and it's from multiple decades. But this is our house in Detroit. Check it out. Just an office or whatever.
We're in the Pimp House. Oh, shit.
Yeah, this house is amazing. So this area looks like it's the zebra.
It's like the 90s zebra room.
90s zebra room. There's mirrors everywhere, even on the ceilings and some of the
Yeah, this place is crazy. So really cool, though. It's in the historic Boston Edison district of Detroit, which is actually where the Henry Ford house is, like the famous Ford house. This neighborhood was established. It's one of the oldest historic neighborhoods around, and it was established and purchased in the 1820s. And then they started developing it in the 1890s, I think. And so this house is definitely like late 1800s, early 90s or early 1900s when it was built. I mean, it's crazy. You can tell there have been some renovations and things like that, but yeah, it's really neat, man. It's a lot of history in Detroit. As you know, this is a city that is near and dear to my heart. So excited to be here. Looking forward to the game. Looking forward to
there's
going.
the game.
And yeah, who knew?
So today's Friday, right? It's Friday. We will go find some good pizza, and we'll meet up with some friends that are all coming into Michigan for the game. All right, it's time. Let's talk about it. We're waiting on KD. KEVIN Dunn. Everybody knows KEVIN Dunn. He will be here soon. I don't know if his link's not connecting or something, but we'll get back to it. All right, so let's get chatting, Megan. What do you think happened last weekend at home against Colorado State that the team can really carry over into this weekend?
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit on earlier this week, but I think just that consistency, staying the versatility that this team showed. We know that we got a ton of players in. Right. That real game time experience, I think, is going to be really important for Texas moving forward. So obviously we know, and this is not to knock Colorado State. And any time that you can shut out a team, doesn't matter where you're at, any time that you can shut out a team, that shows a lot of improvement. That shows a lot of that's tough to do. Not even a single point. That's tough to do. So, and again, not to knock Colorado State. We know that Michigan is going to be a much different caliber of team coming in. Now, Michigan's had some attrition. We know that, lost their head coach. They're in what you called earlier, and I would agree with, a rebuilding phase. Texas is reloading. So having that consistency, having that experience, and having that versatility that Texas has and that we saw at Colorado State, I think is really going to help out with Michigan. What are you thinking? What are you looking for in this game?
I agree. So I think what they can take from last week was the tackling, right? The entire team only missed 3 tackles in this game. We've seen in the past, especially like last weekend in that carnival play at Alabama, where there were like 5 missed tackles on one play, right? Yeah. So to miss 3 tackles in one game, that really shows that they worked on tackling, they emphasized it, they schemed for it, and then they executed, right? Yeah. So I would love to see them take that kind of tackling to the ground, like Sarek says, populating to the ball. I would love to see all of that happen this weekend. And that's going to be huge for, keeping everything in front of them and not allowing those yards after the catch. So I think that's something that they can take from last week to this week. That would be something good to see. And then also, as the game progressed, lots of people, we saw the stat line, 11 different receivers, right, in this game. So I would love to see, again, them using everyone, keeping it open to everyone, and really just getting everyone involved again. That will really be confusing for Michigan. How do you defend 11 different receivers, plus maybe DeAndre Moore gets in there, makes a catch this week, 12. I mean, you can start adding all the people that can catch the ball in this game.
Yeah.
And how do you defend that? So I think that would really help. Texas this weekend. Of something they can take from last week and build on this week.
That's great. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit before we really break down what we're anticipating and give our predictions. Of course, Kevin Dunn's going to join us. Let's talk about the atmosphere a little bit. So you guys, I drove up, y'all flew in. Tell us a little bit about what was going on in the airports. Is there going to be a big Texas contingency up here? What do you think?
Okay, so I know when we were just on Thursday, the airport was full of Texas fans traveling up to the game, and there were so the airport was full. Our flight was full. By the time we had a layover in Charlotte, by the time we were on the Charlotte to Detroit plane, it was even more full.
Yeah.
And when we first got on the plane, I guess it was a guy that maybe is a Michigan fan or something. He's like, "Hey," kind of joking, "no Texas here."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Get ready, this whole plane is about to be Texas." And sure enough, one after the other in burnt orange and and then we've seen people traveling this morning, Friday morning, from the airports, and they're already, loaded with Texas fans. So I think Michigan is going to be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Unpleasantly surprised.
Unpleasantly for them.
Yeah. Listen, how many Longhorns are going to be here?
I agree. So you guys know my cousin lives in Ann Arbor, and she was texting me yesterday, and she said, "Oh my God, we're already seeing so much orange in Ann Arbor." I was like, "I told y'all we travel."
And that was only Thursday.
This was Thursday, yeah. And so Texas is going to show up loud and proud. I know we've talked about to get the tickets. We went through Michigan people, so we're getting emails from Michigan, and Michigan's telling everybody, "Don't forget to wear your maize. Show up in maize
out." Yeah,
but I think you're going to be surprised. I think a lot of people are, and to see how much burnt orange is in this stadium and how much burnt orange shows up there.
Yeah, and it'll contrast enough from the yellow for people to see it.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I might be overestimating this, but I know with Notre Dame when we traveled up to South Bend,
there was a lot.
You could see huge patches of burnt orange in that stadium, so much so that Notre Dame people were saying, holy crap, we've never seen this many travel. I think we're going to see something like that in the Big House for this trip as well. I'm really anticipating a lot of Texas folks coming up. We know the Big House holds 110 people.
110,000.
110,000, yeah. And again, I think we're going to see a good 20,000 of that be Texas. Like it's going to be a lot of people
just
there.
Like last year at Alabama. It was so much Texas.
Yeah.
Texas travels. Texas loves these big opportunities. And it helps a bit when you're favored by 7 on the road. We've seen some Michigan fans sell their tickets, and Texas fans are snatching them up. So hopefully that helps a few more people get there.
Yeah. So I know the Texas sections, the official Texas section is between 7 and 15, that section of the stadium. But we've talked to a ton of people. We know we're not sitting there. We know that visitor side is going to have a ton of Texas people.
Right.
Just the visitor half of the field is going to have a ton of folks there. So I'm excited to see how many Texas fans show up, man. It's going to be good. It's going to be great. And also with the tailgating. Like that's why I drove up, brought the dogs. We're going to have them in their full Bevo outfits. And I'm getting a little nervous about the tailgating, to be honest. And I'll tell you why.
Like you said, we get the emails from Michigan this week because we bought our tickets through Michigan, right? And they said today, I got an email that, okay, so we know College Game Day is going to be there, even though this is a Fox game, and Fox Big Noon Kickoff is going to be there, biggest game of the weekend. Fox Big Noon Kickoff is now in the tailgate lot where we're going to be.
Right. So now it's like
which is Pioneer High School.
Yeah. How early do we need to get there? We were planning on leaving Detroit about 4:30 in the morning to get there early enough. And now I'm like, is that early enough? I don't know. I'm worried. But I would tell you all this. We know this is going to be a huge game day atmosphere. We know Texas is going to bring it loud and proud. When I was at the Big House before for Michigan State, I was underwhelmed with their tailgating. I was underwhelmed with how they're going. So now I'm kind of going, man, I don't know. How crazy is it going to be with Big Noon Kickoff being where we are at? So yeah, it should be pretty interesting to see. But looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing all the Texas fans. I think we're going to see a lot in Detroit too, because it's not, again, Detroit's only about 45 minutes from Ann Arbor. So
So the for the ESPN College Game Day, their guest picker. Do you know who it's going to be?
For Big Noon?
No, ESPN College Game Day.
I don't know game day.
I thought it was Michael Phelps, right? Michael Phelps is their picker. And then I know McConaughey is going to be at Big Noon kickoff. Yeah. But who is their like home local guy? Do you know?
They haven't announced one. That's the crazy thing. Oh, that's what I'm saying. I thought it was funny that you're like, oh, Texas, the away team is getting the
McConaughey,
guest picker for excuse me. So that, and they also
Derek Jeter's doing something they're honoring Derek Jeter somehow.
Well, and then they also
he's part of the deal this weekend.
And then you're also going to be seeing Will Ferrell is going to be featured.
Yeah, Will Ferrell is going to be there for something.
I remember him from the USC thing. It was McConaughey and USC that they had those were the celebs for the game, the Rose Bowl, right? So I'm like, why is Will Ferrell coming to this game? But hey, it's a place to be. Everybody wants to be. Yeah, everybody wants to be.
Well, Texas, he does Michigan. Have a big Netflix show coming out soon, a movie coming out, so he's probably promoting that. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. It'll be fun to watch. But all right, let's jump in a little bit. We're still waiting for Kevin. He might be having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, we've sent him the link, but
that's okay.
That's okay. Let's keep going.
Yeah. So let's jump in. Let's talk about the game.
All right.
Let's talk about. Let's just start off right now. What do we need to see? We talked a little bit about what carries over, but what keys are you looking for from Texas? What do you think are some key matchups that we're going to see in this game?
Well, I think the biggest matchup of the game is going to be, and I've said this even before the season started, it's going to be the Texas offensive line against the Michigan defensive line. They have one of the best defensive line in the country. Texas, is in the top 3 or 4 or 5 ranked offensive line in the country, and that's going to be huge. Yeah, KD's here. All right. Give us the horns up, Katie, when you're ready to join. All right, he's ready. Let's see. Welcome, Kevin Dunn.
Hey, y'all. How are y'all?
Oh,
I'm trying to
I love it. That's a way to roll.
Hey,
how
Fred.
are y'all doing?
Good to see you, man.
Good to see y'all. It was fun talking last night, as always.
Yeah, we had a funny chat last night.
We got into all types of stuff. So, sorry, I'm not sporting my stuff. I've got one more meeting, and then I'm done for the week. So
all good, my friend.
We were just chatting about kind of started chatting about game day being there, Big Noon kickoff, and then we were just getting into what are some key matchups. I just mentioned Texas O-line against that D-line, that Michigan D-line. What is your key matchup? We'll jump right in. What key matchups are you looking at tomorrow?
I really want to look at the interior offensive line going up against is it Kenneth Grant and then also Mason Graham. Graham could be a top 10 pick, number 55. He's going to be like your shorter white dude who does not look like a first round pick but plays like one. And then Kenneth Grant is a much taller, more prototypical defensive tackle. Like, what do Hayden Connor, Jake Majors, DJ, Devon Campbell, how do they match up? Because to me, that's where Michigan is still really good. Jim Harbaugh built this with physicality. It's how they actually got over the hump with Ohio State by adding speed and changing the scheme to deal with all those first-round receivers in space. But really, they won the national championship and got to the playoff 3 times by being physical. And they're going to try and shove it down Texas' throat. So I would look at both lines of scrimmage. That's by far my biggest key for Texas. But really, I want to see what the interior offensive line can do against 2 really good tackles.
Agreed. Yeah.
Right.
I think that's you hit the nail on the head. This is something where we know that Michigan has a defense. We know even despite a little bit of attrition, Michigan is still going to be rolling. They're a big physical team. They've got the guys in place. They've got a lot of game experience. But on that other side, we've seen that Texas right now, again, that O-line, and how long has it been since we've been able to say this? Texas has a dominant O-line. Texas has an O-line that may be one of the best in the country. So it's going to be a great matchup. How are you seeing that play out? Do you think Texas has enough to keep Quinn protected? Did we give him enough time?
Megan, that is probably the question of the day. Because they don't have Aiden Hutchinson, nobody does, or Chase Winovich on the edge. So those 2 defensive tackles are going to be problems. But they've got a couple guys that can apply pressure. Wink Martindale's their DC. I think the scheme matchup and the chess game between Sark and him could be really good. But that's the question, Megan. And to answer your first question, the last time we could talk about an offensive line that looked this good was 2006.
It's been a minute. It has been a minute.
It's been a minute. Imagine what the three of us were doing in 2006.
Yeah. I mean, we were a little rowdy. Perhaps
we were younger.
We were all three rowdy. I can tell you that.
Watching a little bit of the football being played in California, perhaps.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I think this is going to be. We know this is going to be a great matchup. I think Texas's O-line is up to snuff. But again, the biggest key here for me is going to be keeping Quinn protected, giving him time to throw the ball. In the past, when Quinn has been under pressure, we've seen perhaps some questionable throws, some questionable decisions.
Even last week.
Checking down, he tends to get a little flustered and maybe not read through his progressions when he's feeling some of that pressure. So, yeah I think it's going to be a huge key to have Quinn give him enough time, because when he's got the time, when he's got the ability to check through and find his guy, this Texas offense is hard to stop. Truly. And the other thing I am encouraged by with Quinn is we see this, he is a big game player.
Yeah.
Texas is in the past, and I think we are past this, but Texas has had the ability to play up or down to their opponents. And Quinn shows up in big games. We saw it last year in Alabama. He's ready. Even the year before that in Alabama. I mean, that was his second start. Right, for Texas in Austin against Alabama, and he balled out there. I mean, young kid, he did well last year. Again in Tuscaloosa, we see him. He took control of that team. He wasn't missing.
The Big 12 championship game was one of his statistically one of his best games ever on the biggest conference championship stage.
Right. So I think that key is, can the O-line protect him long enough to give him the time to ball out and be big game Quinn like we know?
I do think they will be able to. I mean, he's going to get some pressure. I'll say this though. I mean, I try to be as objective as possible, and at times I've gotten a lot of crap from Texas fans. You're not a Texas fan. Oh yeah, you're right.
Right.
Yeah,
but
my DNA didn't.
The other way, you're too much of a homer, right?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. But I was as impressed just visually, just watching college football for a long time. Guys against space. I don't care if it's Colorado State. I was as impressed with the talent they have and the speed they have. Probably the only other time I felt like that really watching them would have been those MAC years, like 04, 05, around there. When guys come out and you look at the second team, they've upgraded the talent. They've stacked classes. They've evaluated properly for their scheme, and they have developed. That big D word, the biggest D word in Austin forever is development. Like anything. I mean, develop. And they've done that. And so we can get to all the other pieces that he has. But I thought Quinn looked a year older and a year more mature. His feet were so calm. His footwork is always the issue with him, because he's got an arm that all of us dreamt of having, but you can get lazy with that. So most of us have to put everything into it. Like, everything's got to be right for that ball to be accurate and on time. He can just kind of shortstop stuff. And I think his footwork looked a lot better. He looked calmer too. Like, there was just a calmness to him. He was climbing the pocket. Like, I know it's Colorado State. I get that it's week one. We don't have to preface that every time. We all know that. We've all been watching forever. But he just looked a lot better. And if he can keep that calm, and even if he does have to go down and don't force anything, he may take a couple sacks. That's okay. But there are going to be enough plays with that speed to score enough. And I don't think Michigan can score enough. If Texas can get up early in this thing, get up 10-0, and put them in that spot, it'd be like, now we're chucking Joaquin.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I agree. Like, Quinn has, not only does he have the arm, he has the receivers on the other end, right? We've talked about this embarrassment of riches, and all these 4- and 5-star receivers with so much speed. We talked this week about there being 11 different receivers last week who caught the ball, 11 different pass catchers in that game, including tight ends and running backs. And that doesn't even include like DeAndre Moore, who still could get a catch this week, and other players. So what do you think? Like, this week in presser, Sark was asked about how do you keep the players engaged and, when there's only so many balls to go around. And Sark's response was, don't count the reps, make your reps count, right? And what a mindset for the players to know, I do get my opportunity, run my route efficiently, block efficiently, do whatever I'm supposed to do, finish my play. How do you see that transferring to Michigan, where it's a big level, and we saw, even though their DBs didn't blow the roof off last week, they still are, division, Big Ten, big defensive recruiting talent. How do you see that transferring this weekend to Michigan when they're going to have to share and make their reps count?
That's a great question. And I think that's a question we're going to be asking all year. Will Johnson is a first-round pick. I tried to recruit him at Morgan. Missed on that one. But like, he is going to be a first-round talent. And he actually gave up 5 catches. He actually didn't look like the Will Johnson we've seen. He did have a pick 6 to really clinch that thing to make it 30-14. But their DBs are still really good, and maybe not at the level, but Will Johnson is still really good. And Rocky, that is a fantastic question. I think it's one I've talked to a couple Texas fans about. I'll say this, like, I don't like to come out of week 1 and say, definitely this. This will be the deepest receiving core UT's ever had.
Yeah. Agreed.
Roy B.J. Sloan, Tony Jeffries, and Lavelle Pinckney, Mike Adams. 05 was really talented, but they've got 6 legitimate guys, and they're probably 7 or 8 that can go. So it begs the question that you're bringing up, Rocky. Well, what happens when you get into a 3rd and 4? Remember Tom Herman, 3rd and 3, biggest play of the game, and it was like, hey, let's get 3rd team in there. This is mop-up time. It's like,
listen, man, you're giving us flashbacks. Let's keep the vibes up, right?
I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly. I know people are like,
the pain of Tom Herman. Yeah,
like my coffee's coming up right now. So he is. How do they use that rotation? I think they're more interchangeable than Adonai, Xavier, and Whittington, which really had their kind of set roles. You knew who they were. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I mean, Rocky, that's a great question. That's something I'll be looking at. Like, what is the rotation like? When does it tighten up? If it is a 3-point game in the 4th quarter and you've got to drive, like, are we using 6-7 guys, or are we kind of getting down to a 3 or 4 at that point?
Right. Well, and to your point, I think where Texas is at a big advantage here, that is going to be a huge matchup. Can Texas get the ball to the guys he needs to? But here's where I feel really confident, and it makes me uncomfortable how confident I am with this.
I know.
We know that Sarkisian can scheme. Coach Sark is in his bag. He is an offensive-minded coach, and we've seen it time and again. He knows how to get to his guys. He knows how to throw looks, and he knows how to scheme and prep. I think what we're going to see here, as we're talking about the talent that Texas has, the ability, and just how deep we are at that wide receiver position, and have it on any given play, any given day, any of these guys can go big, and they are very versatile. Throw that in with Sarkisian's ability to scheme up and throw different looks and confuse defenses. Mm-hmm. I think we're looking at Texas feels like a special year for this team. This feels like, man, put all those together, and like you said, I don't want to say anything definitive, but damn, I'm as close to definitive as I can be without being on it. Thinking that Texas is, we gonna ball out. We're gonna go.
I wish we had Baxter. That run game still, we saw last week. It took a while to get it going, and the offensive line could have been more physical. I know they will be more physical this week. I would bet money they're going to be more physical this week at Michigan. They have to be. So I hope we see more of that. I would like bigger holes for our running backs to run through, which is a big ask against that defensive line. But we got to establish the run.
I think both of you are right. By the way, if y'all haven't checked out this pod, my girls know their shit. So, no, I mean, I agree with both those. I would say, Rocky, and I mean, look, Baxter is obviously super talented, and I'm more worried long-term about the depth. I thought Jaden Blue was as good of a running back as Texas had on their roster last year.
Yes.
Jonathan Brooks included. And I don't feel any different after watching week 1. You look at his speed. First up, I love the fact that facially in the bio, he looks like a fullback, which shows you some physicality. Yet he had the 2nd highest miles per hour on the team last year with the guy who set the 40 record in the combine with a 4.21, who had a pretty good night last night, by the way.
Turns out.
And not a bad debut. But he can run. He's got better vision. He's got really shake and bake type miss. But they don't put his head down. Just keep him healthy. If Jaden Blue's healthy all year, running back will not be a problem.
We'll be okay.
Oh, and by the way, this is funny. Like, you get caught up, and I'm not getting on any of the insiders. A lot of them are my friends, and I think they do a really good job. But when you keep on listening, and my dad does this, Notre Dame could have the best receiving corps in the history of the world this year. I'm like, yeah, I doubt it. I highly doubt it. It's like, yeah, I was on blue and gold though. I'm like, I know you were, and you're retired, so this is all you do. So, like the last 15 years, you keep on hearing, this guy. And then you watch him, it's like, well, where was all that spring talk? I almost feel the other way around. Like, I knew Trey Wisner was talented.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was going to look like DJ Monroe mixed with Ramonce Taylor at times.
Yeah.
Like, those two guys, I'm all good. And Jared Gibson looked good. But I am worried about the depth. And yes, it would be great to have CJ Baxter. He's a 5-star. He's supremely talented. But I'm all good with the run game. But I am with Rocky. Like, the offensive line is going to have to really, especially against Grant and Graham, the guys I mentioned, once again, they really develop guys. They evaluate well, and they've built that program. Even though I think that program's probably descending with everything that's gone on and all the attrition, they built it through the line play. So this week, this is about Texas physicality. They've got more speed. Yeah. If you get them in space and give them time, they're going to blow them out. You got to do that though.
Love it. All right. So let's ask this. We're gonna give our picks here in a minute, but getting into this, what players for Texas need to have a big game for Texas to come out on top? Who are you thinking?
Wow, that is a great question. This is going to be weird. The ones I'm going to give, but I'm going to say Anthony Hill. Because I do think, the only weapon Michigan has right now, because they've got a quarterback that can run and a quarterback who I love his story. It's like brought tears to my eyes. He had leukemia his senior year in high school. I had cancer my senior year in high school.
Right.
And he walks on. This is a great story. I hope this kid crushes it the rest of the year, just not tomorrow.
Not tomorrow.
Hey, the cancer bond is strong, but I'm going to give it to you all year, just not tomorrow, okay?
Absolutely.
But what's his name? I always get it. Colston Loveland. It may be the top tight end in the country. By the way, Gunnar Helm looked really damn good too, and it's not too far away. But that's going to be their key with running the football. And I think Anthony Hill is going to be at that Mike spot. He can do so much. They're going to use him in coverage a little bit more this year. My guess is he may be flagging him. So that's going to be a key to me. Clearly, the Texas defensive line, we've talked about the lines. But then I'm going to go and say Quinn Ewers, because I think they will protect. I could give Hayden Connor or Jake Majors, but we know what that group has to do. If Quinn plays to the maturity he's shown so far, and it goes through his progressions, and is calm with his feet, and is calm with his eyes, and reads everything. He was looking people off. He had a no-look pass.
No-look pass.
No.
You kidding?
It's going to get, that play's going to get riskier at Michigan, but that was fun to see at home.
Yeah, no, exactly. So if Quinn plays like that, and then I say Anthony Hill, not only, he's not going to be in coverage with him the whole time, but he's going to be flagging them at times, and that is their main weapon. If Michigan wins, Loveland's going to have like 11 catches for over a bill, and probably a couple touchdowns. And that meant they run because they were able to suck stuff up with play action. So I'll say both those guys would be mine. How about yours?
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to take it back to the O-line. I think it's going to start. The O-line's going to have to pass protect. The O-line's going to have to establish a run. Like, I think this whole game, Majors, Banks, Hudson, Connor, Williams, like Campbell, like this group, how they play is going to determine in my opinion, this game, just what they established, the physicality. Can they protect Quinn? We can't have the false starts on the road. You can't be in 3rd and longs. And we know it all starts at that line. So I'm just going to be watching the O-line. I think that decides the game tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, that's unfair because that's the right answer. I didn't know.
No, I love it. Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Also, Jahdae Barron. Where does he pop out? How do they use him? Versatility. Be just shocking them every play with where they use him.
God, Rocky. I hate when Rocky gets both answers right. That was my other one, but I think you're right. What do you got, Megan?
No, I love it. Look, I'm gonna say I agree with you. I would have said O-line for sure. What I want to see, and again, we struggled with this last year, felt better about it in game 1 this year, is Texas's red zone offense. Texas has to be able to score in the red zone. It last year, that's what kept those games close. Texas would drive, we would show up, we'd be knocking on the door, and we'd walk away with 3 points or walk away with no points sometimes. So if that O-line can hold up and stay consistent, protect Quinn, and Texas can punch it through in red zone, and we really perform with that red zone offense, I don't think Michigan has a chance in this game if we can keep that up. Like you mentioned earlier, Katie, I'm happy you said this. Michigan is not built to come back. This Michigan team is not built to be able to air it out. They're not built to be able to win in a gunslinging contest. That's not who that team is. They are classic Big Ten, right? We know they have a question at quarterback, but they are a classic Big Ten team where it is slobber knocker football. They want to be down in the trenches. They want to keep the scores low. Texas, if they can fire on all cylinders and dominate on the line and score anytime that they get close to that red zone, Michigan, in my opinion, does not have the ability to keep up with a high-powered Texas offense. So that, to me, is going to be a big key to the game.
You're right.
Go ahead, Rock.
Oh, I was just saying, Megan's right. They want to control the clock. We saw when they released the stats last weekend about how many plays, seconds between plays. Michigan was at the bottom. They used the most time between plays. Yeah. That could help Texas to get plenty of time to see what are they showing. We can adjust, plenty of time. So that may be to their disadvantage this weekend, but they will control the clock. That's their goal. Especially when Texas is going fast. If Texas gets a 3-and-out quick, and then they spend the next 3 or 4 minutes on 2 plays, there you go.
Yeah,
that's going to be their game plan.
Well, it's funny. The 2 things on that, and I think you're right. I mean, getting back to Megan's point, this is much more. I know we've seen Michigan the last couple of years, and they've, not that it was a super sexy offense, but they opened it up a little bit. This is more Jake Rudolph, Wilson Spates, Michigan.
Right.
And that was about as sexy as a 95-year-old, in his thong. Thank you
for that visual.
Yeah. Well, I
love it.
I'm already helping out with some people right now,
You're as sexy as our pink house that we're staying in.
But the other thing is that, the new rules of the last couple of years with the clock, these games are flying by like, when I lost my virginity. I mean, it's way too
that
quick.
fast.
That fast. It's too quick. And so, I mean, we've literally had the last couple of years, we've had one team each have 1 possession for a quarter, right? This helps out Michigan. Michigan wants to shorten this game. They want to run the football. They want to keep, this is one of those you always hear, what's the best way to, stop this guy? Keep him on the bench. And that's what we look at the Texas speed. Keep them over there, 3rd and 3, 4 yards. Right. Keep it running. Right. The clock runs so quickly now in college football that helps out Michigan in this game.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think bringing up the point, Michigan is still, in my opinion, maybe I'm overestimating this, but they're pretty one-dimensional right now. Again,
very much so.
We know that they're not going to be airing it out. So exactly like you guys are saying.
They're not even good at that one dimension right now. I mean, it's right. But yeah, it's like, hey, I'm one-dimensional. Are you good at that dimension? No, not really.
Right. So again, I think we're going to see a lot more from Michigan this week than what we saw last week, obviously.
Absolutely.
But again, I feel very confident in the sense that our D-line, while we know that we lost a couple big guys, it looks to me like that D-line is holding up and gelling well, and Baker's got them ready. So I agree. If we know Michigan's one-dimensional, if Texas can shut down that one dimension, I don't know that there's much of a threat for Michigan. Doesn't have a lot of answers beyond that. So again, if Texas can take that option away for them, this is going to be a long day for Michigan in the Big House, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I see Texas defense coming out in a base, and then it really with a favoring to defend that run. I don't think they need to come selling out for the run right away, because that little play action over the top, which they didn't show much last week, but they have had that in their system over the last few years, that could come out tomorrow if they are too aggressive in the run, defending the run. Mm-hmm. I think they'll be balanced and adjust. They'll make adjustments. This is a really well coached defensive side of the ball. So, all right,
it's going to be fun.
Go ahead.
It did feel like PK, like he's more comfortable. The players are more comfortable. The tying the back end and the front end, some of the exotic blitz packages they brought, that dime defense they ran, and then they brought your boy Barron in at linebacker. They're playing around. They felt a lot more comfortable. But I'm so glad y'all brought it up, because I was going to ask y'all. I mean, my other big question is we keep on talking about the Texas offensive line because of Grant and Graham and what they've done. I know Michigan's totally reloaded or rebuilt the offensive line, but they've been building that program with the offensive line for a long time. And, I mean, hell, they should have won the Joe Moore Award probably 3 years in a row. They've been that good. I know Washington won it last year. I think Michigan won it the year before. But the D-line looked really good, but you lose Sweat and Murphy. I still want to see what they look like against a Big Ten offensive line,
Sure.
They'll get their chance to earn that Joe Moore Award if they go up into the Big House and push them around. But that's not going to be. That's
a tall order for sure.
Yeah, they're going to have to win just their one-on-one matchups, play by play, down and see how it goes.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll make our Texas score predictions in just a bit, but let's kind of wrap up and let's do some quick college football, like bigger picture week 2, and then we'll come back and wrap up Texas. So just a few quick games, just kind of talk about what's out there.
Yeah.
Arkansas dropped 70 points last week, but now they're going into 16 Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma State's favored by 7.5. Thoughts on that game? Is Arkansas going to go in there with that big offense again, or is that just women of the poor?
I mean, it's probably just that, but I am actually curious about this game. It's funny. I've been so focused on SEC and Big Ten when I have been looking at stuff. It's funny when you get out of a conference, like I just don't care about her anymore,
Right. We're over.
Yeah. Sorry. I didn't know that, she just did this. Sorry. I'm not paying attention. So I haven't really looked at them as much. I know Oklahoma State. I mean, look, Gundy's a weirdo, but he's done a really good job there. You have to admit it. So I would take Oklahoma State. I don't know if I'd take the line. I'm still not buying Sam Pittman. I think Arkansas is going to be so year to year with the NIL world. And so to be honest, I don't know a ton about either team, and really no one does because we've only had 1 week. But from everything I've seen, I would take Oklahoma State.
All right. I think Arkansas is actually going to go in there and upset Oklahoma State.
Whoa!
Why not?
Well, for the record, Rocky's probably done a lot more research than I have on this.
No, if you drop 70 at home, even if it is against women of the poor, you got to take some of that offense with you on the road, and a big defensive performance too. So defense travels. Let's see what they got. Why not?
See, and I'm in the opposite camp here. I think Oklahoma State at T. Boone Pickens, that place can get as loud as any when they're into it.
And they're right on you too.
They're right on you. It's obviously we've seen some injuries because of how short that sideline is, but I think Oklahoma State is hyped up. That is a thirsty, hungry fan base. They are ready for Okie Light to really show up and show out. And now that Texas and OU aren't in the Big 12, Oklahoma State really has a chance to step up and be the dominant team in the Big 12. I think they show that. I think this is a hyped up team. I think they're ready. I think they're excited to step into that role. The fans are going to be ready. It's going to be a hard place to play. And Katie, I'm with you in that sense. I'm not sold on Arkansas yet. I think Arkansas they're building, and I think they're getting back to the point where they're going to be a tough team to play, but it isn't right now. I just don't think they're consistent enough. So yeah, I think Oklahoma State goes in, they handle business, and I think they beat that line. I'm going to take Oklahoma State, and I said cover.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
That's 7.5, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, Ollie Gordon, they still have Ollie Gordon, so.
Right.
Yeah. T'Vondre Sweat had more touchdowns in the Big 12 championship than Ollie Gordon. So, so Baylor at Utah, we don't have to pick it, but Utah's favored by 2 touchdowns. That's a Big 12 matchup.
But it's not a Big 12 game. Do you know that?
It doesn't count towards the Big 12 game because they scheduled this out of conference early, right? Crazy.
Yeah.
That's
So
wild.
I've only seen that like in college baseball when Oklahoma and Oklahoma State will play 12 times because they.
Right.
You know,
In
it's
the
Oklahoma.
tournaments early in the season, it doesn't count.
It's Oklahoma. They like doing people in the family a lot.
Yeah.
So they are, it's one of those weird games, but I mean, Utah is, Cam Rising is back. Utah is going to be the Big 12, probably with Oklahoma State. And I agree with Megan too. Oklahoma State's got to kind of be like, all right, you 2 guys are gone. We're the big dog in the conference.
But here comes Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So
I'll take Utah, and I'll take Utah to cover too.
Yeah. They're good. They're good. I'd agree with that. Okay. UTSA is at Texas State. Just want to throw this out there because UTSA, are they looking ahead at Texas? Texas State survived a comeback, almost comeback at home last week. They're an even pick. Just to throw that out there, that's going to be a pretty exciting game. The number is even. UTSA at Texas State.
Wow.
Yeah, that's going to be a good game. It's 3:00 on ESPNU. Tomorrow. So, and then in the evening, a couple of big games. 14 Tennessee goes to NC State. Yeah. NC State survived at home against a bad team. Tennessee's
going to blow them out.
Yeah. They're 10-point favorites on the road, Tennessee. But here's one we need to pick. Colorado at Nebraska. And we're picking this because old rivalry renewed, right? Old rivalry. Nebraska are 7-point favorites. I'm going to let Megan go first because Megan is excited about this game.
I am excited about this game.
I am too.
I am low key. I will support Nebraska when it's not Texas. I've got some great fans there. Always have a great experience there. I've real good friends up in Lincoln. I'm there pretty often. And I got to throw this out there. Like Colorado, just not a fan. When they were in the Big 12, we had some pretty awful run-ins with their fans. They are not pleasant to be around. This to me is exciting, right? You've got the storyline of Dion. Is he actually a coach or is he just a name? Colorado getting pushed around quite a bit. They haven't had a lot to beat their chest about, even though don't tell them that. And Nebraska, of course, I am ready for the days that Nebraska is back to being Nebraska. College football is better off when Nebraska is a good team. I'm going to say this. I think Matt Rule is starting to build back that program. I think this is the year we start to see, much like in Texas is coming back with Sarkisian, this is the year we start to see Nebraska winning some of those games that they should win. They might be some close contests, and we all know this is an old Big 8 matchup. These two teams, there is no love lost between them. So excited to watch this one. I'm going to take Nebraska. I think Nebraska is going to show up. And again, I think this is going to be close early, but I think Nebraska walks away with it. I'm taking Nebraska. I'm taking Nebraska to cover at home. So I'm excited for this one. How about you, Katie?
Man, this is a funny rivalry. God, you're a Nebraska fan. Look, I mean, they were
calm it down a little bit. I support Nebraska. I wouldn't call myself a fan. I will support Nebraska.
I forgot it's election season where you've got to play around with semantics and whoa.
Let's pump the brakes on that a bit.
I didn't say tax everyone. I just said most people.
Yeah, there you go.
But this is a weird rivalry because it really wasn't a national rivalry. But when probably, early on when I was watching, it would have been after, but like late 80s, this thing got national real quickly when McCartney with Sal Unessis turned everything around. Then you had Darian Hagan 89 team and Eric Bieniemy and all then. And Nebraska was Osborne. They were national, but they were really trying to get over they're almost like Notre Dame in a playoff game. It's like, oh, that's cute. You got here with your regular season.
Yeah.
Please don't get knocked out this game. Everyone be safe. We're going to lose by 40. Just they'd go to the Orange Bowl and just get their asses kicked by Miami or Florida State or whoever. And then they turned it around. And then in the mid-90s, it just got, I mean, this thing was – because Cordell Stewart, Rashawn Salam. I mean, that whole thing with Tommy Frazier and the black shirts. And it was such a great national game. And it just disappeared. And this is the first year I feel like I really want to watch this and get into it,
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool. It may be more nostalgia when I'm actually watching it. I'm like, yeah, this isn't Grant Wistrom. And but they got 2 quarterbacks in this game. And Colorado is so weird because they have 2 of the best players, maybe the best players in the country. You can argue it. We'll see how it shakes out. And I'm with you. Matt Rule can turn stuff around. It's year 2. Usually year 3 is the one where, whoa, like at Baylor and even Temple. But they're going to be a lot better. And they've got a quarterback who can sling it. It's the second game to start. Man, I hate to do this. I really do. Because it's the second game to start. They're just getting going, really. I'm going to take Nebraska, too.
Ooh, all right. See, that's my boy. You get it.
I'm with you. Nebraska wins and covers.
Wow, all right. No Deion love here.
No
Deion love in
no
this room.
Colorado.
But you know what?
I believe in Matt Rule coaching at home more
Right.
than I believe in Sanders coaching on the road.
Yeah.
That's it.
I agree. You know what? I think that's probably a great way to put it. And that crowd has been thirsty to win for a long time. Getting back to that fan base, though, Megan, I've never met a cooler fan base
Yeah.
who then went bipolar and turned into the biggest asshats I've ever met in my life.
I've always had a great experience, even when we were there in
It's only
2010.
because we were beating them. That was the only reason.
I don't know. I can't speak to it. I mean, we were welcomed in Lincoln. We had a great time there in 2010. Everybody was happy to have us there, even when we won. You know, they were expecting, that was the Martinez year,
Yeah.
right? And Texas was not expected to do well.
Nebraska was the top, they were like 7th in the country, and it was Garrett Gilbert
was
running his
unranked.
zone read.
Garrett Gilbert
Yes.
or David Ash.
Yeah, it was
whatever.
Garrett Gilbert against,
And one of the Achos, I think Sam had a big game.
right. And Texas was not expected to go in and play well. I mean, so they were excited that we were there. But even after the game, when Texas pulled it out and kind of crushed Nebraska, they were still begrudgingly, thanks for coming. Dang it. You know, they were still friendly fans. So
All right. Well, I'm
I
glad,
like
to,
Nebraska.
glad to hear that.
Yeah.
All right.
I love it. All right.
So just to mention a couple other big games, 7:00, App State at Clemson. We know App State can upset some people on the road.
Ask
Clemson, ask A&M. Clemson is 16.5-point favorite. So let's see what happens with that. Boise State and Texas Tech were both in big shootouts last weekend. Oregon struggled with their offense at home.
That's an interesting game.
Boise State at Oregon is pretty interesting.
Boise State at Oregon. Sorry, yeah.
Oregon's three touchdown favorites. Texas Tech goes to Washington State. Washington's favored at home by 2.5. But the big one we want to pick, Texas 3 at Michigan 10. Let's give our score predictions. And Katie, you're our guest. We'll let you go first.
Oh, I get to go first. No, I'll give it to y'all. How about that?
Okay.
All right. Look, I've been saying this all week. I am uncomfortable with how confident I am in this pick. Texas wins big in this game. I think Texas goes into the big house. They establish themselves early, and Michigan just doesn't have the ability to keep up or catch up. I think this game, you know, it will see some really great football early on. I think Texas is going to, in the end, I think Texas is just going to pull away. I have Texas winning by double digits. Texas covers and goes in, and we can officially be excited about Texas football.
Do you have a score?
I have a score prediction. I'm saying it's going to be, oh man, you're going to make me say this, aren't you?
Yes.
All right.
Be bold.
I'm doing it. I'm going to say 34-10 Texas. I think we come in. I think we get ugly. I think we shut down Michigan. I'm sorry, guys. I've been saying this. I've been confident.
34-10.
34-10.
The spread is 7, by the way. It started at 3, 3.5, 4, and it went up to 7.5. It has settled at 7 this morning. We'll see what it is at kickoff, but I'll go next, Katie. I am confident in Texas' ability to go on the road and compete. I am not that confident that the offense just can run away from that defense, because it is still a vaunted defense with a fantastic defensive coordinator. Yeah. So I will say Texas goes on the road and survives, fighting to the last drive, and I'm more in the 4 to 5, 6 point range. So I will do something more like Texas 24, Michigan 20.
That's probably the smart bet right there. And I
7, 8, 19. I was like, no, 19. 24-19. I don't know how they get to 19.
How you get to 19?
They miss kicks. Blocked extra points.
Well, I mean, the way Michigan has to score points, we'll have to wait and see. It really bothers me. I think we talked about the keys to the game. I think maybe the biggest key and the biggest kryptonite, living in Austin for 46 years, and y'all have lived here forever and have been Texas fans forever. There was one time when the football, basketball, and baseball programs were struggling, and I'm doing play-by-play for LHN, and Augie and I go out to lunch. And he looks at me and he was just like, when they were losing, like, you were just a friend to be around. And he was always trying to figure it out, which is why he was such a great coach. And he looked at me and he goes, man, there's something in the fucking water here, bro. Pardon my language, but I wanted to give the real direct quote.
Absolutely.
And his point was like, there's something, when you go to UT, and this could be for students, coaches, faculty, people that just moved to Austin, there's like this weird entitlement or complacency that comes across you, and you feel like you've made it before you've made it. And man, if there was ever a week to test the rat poison theory for Texas and where this culture has turned, it'll be this week, because it's impossible for these kids to stay off social media, and everyone, Joel Klatt, Rick Neuheisel, you name it, are saying Texas is back and they are damn good, and this is going to be a romp, right? Well, unfortunately, getting back to the objective part, I see the same thing. I think Texas will protect Quinn. I think their speed and athleticism is going to be too much for a retooled, attrition-riddled Michigan team who lost their head coach. Agreed. Think about what Michigan's gone through the last year, just emotionally and psychologically. And I'm not even talking about winning the Natty. Yeah. Like they've been through a lot. And I know that makes you tougher and stronger. And I think it's still a tough program and a strong program. But Sharon Moore, who could end up being a great head coach, they haven't signed his contract yet because they're waiting. Because the AD mentioned that. He's like, oh, yeah, we haven't signed that yet. Sorry, we're getting around to it. We had
better agent.
Well, he could lose some money tomorrow.
Right, exactly. But they're waiting for the show costs too, I'm sure, right? But like, what are you doing? You're the AD. We haven't signed that yet. Oh yeah, we need to go pass out pencils to freshmen for math class. Right. We've been really busy. Sorry, we haven't been able to get to the phone and look at it yet. Like, there's all this weird stuff that's kind of going on there that I think Texas goes in there and just on the field, I think they get it done. I think Michigan's offense is going to be too big of a hamstring for them. And maybe they do. Look, if they shove it down Texas' throat, then they can win this game. I don't see it happening. I think Texas goes in there and wins 34-13.
All right.
Wow.
All right.
You two are calling for blowouts.
I'm just saying, I love it.
By the way,
it's the Texas swagger, baby. We're back.
I hate saying that.
I do too.
Give a crap about that, but I don't want to add any fuel to this fire, because the best thing Michigan has going for them right now is that the whole nation thinks Texas is going to go in there and stomp them.
Yeah. Look, I am physically uncomfortable. I am ill with how comfortable I am saying Texas is going to go in and win big.
The good thing is it may be media and fans that are all hyped up, but we know inside that program, coming from the players, there's nothing but massive respect for what Michigan has put on the field the last few years, understanding they haven't lost at home in forever. They are defending national champions. They still have, NFL talent all over that field.
They're still Michigan.
There is mad respect from the program. They're not coming in with inflated heads. It's the talk in the media and all that. So, but it is exciting to come in with confidence.
Yeah,
absolutely. It is. But getting back to, I think, Rocky, was the point you made that, like, I loved it. You get into individual matchups at the end of the day, right? And so if I'm Hayden Connor, who's looked really good, if I'm Hayden Connor, I'm like, you think I'm overconfident? I'm going up against Kenneth Grant. The guy who's like, 7 stories and has leverage and was kicking ass for the national champion last year. Or if I'm, DJ Campbell and Jake Majors, oh yeah, I'm real confident. I've got Mason Graham. Not that they're not confident, but they're not going to, they know what they're going up against.
They're confident.
If I'm one of the receivers and I got Will Johnson on me, I'm not like, oh, this is a cakewalk. Michigan lost everything. No, it's a top 10 pick in front of me,
Right.
Yeah.
No.
All
I love
right.
it. All right.
All
Well,
right.
we've
We're
all
gonna-
got Texas winning.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up. Yeah, CB, we're in the Pimp House. You call it the Pink House. It's the Pimp House. That's where we're recording from. Katie, amazing pick. Megan, amazing pick. I hope your picks are better, closer than my pick. I'm calling for Heart Attack City losing years off my life. Y'all are calling for pina coladas in the fourth quarter. So
I'm here for it.
Let's see how it goes. All right. Thank you, Katie, for representing, chatting with us. Great.
You know how much I love y'all. It's always an easy conversation. So I'd love to come back, but y'all be loud. I know you will be. Have a great time there. Be safe. Have the fans been cool so far or no?
Yeah, for the most part. They're more. We're in Detroit right now. We haven't reached Ann Arbor yet.
Yeah, we'll check in on that.
Yeah.
So far, we've had wonderful, welcoming people.
They'll be good.
All right. Well, y'all definitely be safe then. All right.
We will.
We'll be good.
All right. Love y'all. Bye.
All right. Bye. Hook 'em.